We are looking at the definition of commodity. So we're looking at commodity. What is commodity and its relationship with capitalism? According to Karl Marx, the commodity is the cornerstone of capitalism. And commodity production is a key defining characteristic of capitalism. And as I said in the last session, Marx begins his investigation of capitalism in Capital with the analysis of commodity. So he doesn't start with the analysis of capital, he starts with the analysis of commodity. So what is commodity? Is going to define commodity, and it is a good definition. That's why we are going to look at this definition and try to reflect on it. A commodity is something that is produced. A commodity is something that is produced. So not every production is commodity in this technical. So commodity is something that is produced for exchange rather than something produced for immediate use or consumption by the producer. So let us look at this definition carefully. So commodity is something. So commodity is something which is produced. It is part of the production process. It is something which is produced. It's a product. Is a product. But important thing is, not every product is commodity. So there are products which are commodities, and there are produce which are non-commodity products. So in the same way, there are production systems which produce commodity or which are focused on commodity. But then there are production systems which have nothing to do with commodity or very little to do with commodities. Okay, so what makes something a product commodity and another product non-commodity? What makes one production system commodity focused or commodity dominant production system, and another production system non-commodity focused or dominant production system? So this definition goes a long way in explaining that. So a commodity is something that is produced for exchange rather than for immediate use or consumption. So commodity is something whose main purpose, or if not the sole purpose, we can say even sole purpose, even though we avoid saying sole purpose because commodity cannot do that without the help of non-commodity concerns. So commodity is something whose main purpose is exchange. So if you are producing something mainly or solely to exchange for other things, or in mature capitalism mainly for money, because money is the universal standard of exchange in capitalism. We'll look at that at some point. Exchange. So commodity is something whose main purpose or sole purpose is you produce it so you can exchange it for other things. So a commodity is something that is produced for exchange rather than something produced for immediate use or consumption by the producer. So you have on the one hand exchange. That's why when we were looking at the dictionary meaning, I said buying and selling is one of the everyday use of the word commodity, which will come handy for understanding commodity technical meaning. So exchange is buying and selling, or at least consistent buying and selling. In contrast to exchange, you have two other things which also came up in when we were looking at the dictionary meaning of commodity: use and consumption. And use and consumption is related to needs, human needs. Whether they're social needs or immediate personal needs. So this is one frame of reference. And this is another frame of reference. So in one frame of reference, you produce things so that you can exchange, that you can buy and sell. And that's the main purpose. In fact, that mode of transaction dominates everything else in the economy. In fact, it dominates the society when society becomes an exchange society. On the other hand, you have a production system where you are producing things, so you can use those things, you can consume those things, so you can fulfill your physical, biological, personal, psychological, social needs. And here you're exchanging and buying, selling, so you can exchange more. And ultimately, the purpose would be the exchange as a vehicle of accumulation. That's why exchange is important in capitalism. So one thing to notice is this first sort of framework or frame of reference is typical of capitalist economy and capitalist society. On the other hand, the second frame of reference is typical of non-capitalist society. And in capitalist society, this second frame of reference is subsumed under the first one. or subsumed under the first one, or dominated by the first one, or is justified only if it is necessary for uh, facilitating exchange. On the other hand, in non-capitalist societies, exchange is subsumed under the first is subsumed under the second one. So that's an interesting point of reference, that in capitalist society can be defined as we will say, exchange society, in which everything else like use, consumption, fulfillment of needs is strictly subservient to exchange. On the other hand, in non-capitalist society, exchange is strictly subservient to use and consumption and fulfillment of social needs or individual needs as well. Okay.